Welcome back to Explaining Everything, the channel where we dive into the stories and mysteries behind everyday things. Today's question comes from one of our thoughtful viewers, Dumpling Overlord 09. Thanks for the suggestion, Dumpy. You asked, why do fortune cookies always have generic advice? And honestly, great question. We've all been there. You crack open a fortune cookie, expecting some deep insight into your future, and instead, you get something like, a smile is your passport to happiness. Thanks, cookie. That was so helpful. So, what's the deal? Is there a secret society of vague fortune writers? Are they worried about giving out actual predictions? Or are they just too lazy to get creative? Let's break it down, right here on Explaining Everything. Before we dive into their frustratingly vague messages, let's talk about where fortune cookies came from, because, surprise, they aren't from China. That's right, the most iconic Chinese restaurant treat. Not Chinese. The real origin of the fortune cookie is a hotly debated topic, but most historians agree that it comes from Japan. In the 19th century, a similar cookie called the Tsujura Senbei was made in Kyoto. It even had fortunes inside. Japanese immigrants brought the idea to the United States, where it eventually got rebranded as the fortune cookie we know today. By the early 1900s, Chinese-American restaurants started handing them out, and boom, a legend was born. And because nothing screams authenticity like a deep-fried American twist, the cookies got sweeter, crunchier, and mass-produced like crazy. But what about the fortunes inside? Well, that's where things get interesting. Ever wonder if some wise old sage is sitting in a temple somewhere, crafting your fortunes with ancient wisdom? Nope. The reality is way less mystical. Most of the fortunes you read today come from a handful of companies that manufacture fortune cookies on a massive scale. One of the biggest players? Wonton Food Incorporated in Brooklyn, New York. They pump out millions of fortune cookies every day, with pre-written messages stuffed inside. And who writes those messages? Believe it or not, they have actual fortune cookie writers. Yes, that's a real job. A handful of people sit down and come up with thousands of generic, yet slightly profound-sounding sayings like, "Good things come to those who wait." Translation? Be patient. You'll get your food soon. Your future is bright. Translation? Please tip your waiter. Happiness is found within. Translation? We ran out of actual fortunes. The key is keeping it vague. That way, no one gets mad if their lucky day turns out to be the day they lock their keys in their car. All right, but why do they always sound like motivational posters from a middle school guidance counselor? A few reasons. Avoiding lawsuits. Imagine opening your fortune cookie and it says, "Invest in gold tomorrow." So you do, and then lose all your money. Who do you sue? The cookie, probably. To avoid that nightmare, fortune writers keep things as safe and unspecific as possible. Mass appeal. Fortune cookies are eaten by millions of people from all walks of life. They need messages that can apply to anyone, whether you're a college student, a grandma, or a guy who just came in for takeout after a bad breakup. Recycling is easy. Why come up with 10,000 original fortunes when you can rotate the same 300? If you've ever gotten the same fortune twice, now you know why. The placebo effect. People tend to find meaning in vague statements. It's like horoscopes. If your fortune says, "A new opportunity is coming your way," you might start looking for one and make it happen. Not all fortunes are bland, though. Sometimes a rogue cookie makes its way into the mix and leaves people very confused. Here are a few real-life fortune cookie gems. You will soon gain something you have always wanted, a cavity. Thanks? The fortune you seek is in another cookie. Now it's a treasure hunt? Ignore the previous cookie. Okay, now this is getting weird. Run! Wait, run where? Help! I am trapped in a fortune cookie factory. Classic. These rogue fortunes usually happen due to printing errors, rogue employees, or someone just having a little too much fun at the factory. Let's imagine a world where fortune cookies give useful advice. Instead of generic wisdom, you might crack open a cookie and find, "Hey, you should probably get that weird noise in your car checked out. Don't text your ex. Seriously, your boss did see that email you accidentally sent. That 5-second rule you just used? Yeah, don't. Would it be more helpful? Absolutely. Would it still be fun? Maybe, but let's be honest. Half the magic of fortune cookies is their randomness. And as frustratingly generic as they can be, we kinda love them anyway. So, what have we learned today? Fortune cookies aren't Chinese. They were invented in America by way of Japan. A small number of companies mass-produce fortunes, written by actual humans whose job is to be as vague as possible. They stay generic to avoid lawsuits, appeal to everyone, and reuse the same messages over and over. Now and then, a bizarre fortune sneaks through and makes the whole thing worth it. At the end of the day, fortune cookies are less about predicting the future and more about giving you something fun to read before you inhale your orange chicken. And really, isn't that enough? Thanks for watching. Stay curious and remember, history is everywhere, even inside a fortune cookie. See you next time on Explaining Everything. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for tuning in and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about here on Explaining Everything.